Hello again. We're reading from Murder in the Kollel. We're up to chapter 21. Who Done It? Kollel outdid herself the next morning. Spicy hash browns combined with green onion scrambled eggs and fresh vegetable salad. I'm not a big salad eater, but the garlic dressing was scrumptious. As I chewed my way to bliss, I once again commended myself on my decision to dump all the provisions that I had brought up from Detroit. They were 4 days old, and even when they were fresh, they could not compare with this food. I was trying very hard not to wolf down my breakfast. Daphna's daughters barely touched their own plates and just giggled every time I took a bite. They don't know how good their grandma cooks. When they get older, they're in for a big surprise. Daphna came limping up from the vault wearing the same clothes that she had worn the day before. A tickle covered her hair instead of her dirty sheitel. She plopped down on a chair and said, "Coffee, now." Disheveled, exhausted, and wearing no makeup, it was really good to see her. I definitely have a problem. "Good morning," I said cheerfully. She held up a palm like a traffic cop. "Not yet. Coffee first." Mrs. Kollel brought her a cup and she took a sip. I waited a moment tried to make conversation. "I'm so enjoying your mother's cooking. It is terrific. You should ask her to give you lessons. It couldn't hurt," I said jokingly. Daphna made a tepid smile and said, "I will surely ask her. Thanks for the advice." Shandel started laughing. When she saw that I did not know what was funny, she said, "You're kidding me. You really don't know?" "Don't know what?" I queried. Mrs. Kollel pointed at her daughter and said, "She usually tells everyone as soon as they come in the door." "Mom, it's not important," said Daphna with a tired shake of her head. "It sure is important," said the older woman. "When I came here 2 years ago, after David Oliver Shalom passed away, I was supposed to help cook. The problem was I really did not know how. My husband never complained. He was a generous soul. My meals were pathetic. More than pathetic. They were a disaster." "They were not that bad," said Daphna encouragingly. Shandel turned to Daphna's daughters. "Girls, how was my cooking back then?" Susie pinched her nose, indicating that the meals were terrible, and Eliza gave a thumbs down and shook her head and said with a grimace, "Not good at all." "You just need a little help," said Daphna. "And I got it. Someone taught me how to cook. Do you know who that someone was?" "I haven't got the foggiest," I answered. "Mom!" exclaimed Daphna. She pointed at Daphna with both open palms. "My daughter. She took me in hand and taught me the difference between frying and sautéing, between mixing and folding and all the other crazy cooking skills that I had never acquired. Then she wrote down all the recipes and stood at my side as I learned to prepare them. Everything I have made in the last few days is Daphna's recipes." Whammy. Not only was she pretty, smart, and a genius at the computer, she could cook. "You know how to cook?" "Why are you so surprised?" asked Daphna, slightly offended. "Because I haven't seen you cook a single thing since I've been here," I said in my defense. "Duh. We've been kind of busy these last few days," said Daphna. The work on the computer, the mugger, the grenade, and the jihad attack flashed through my mind. She was right. We had been busy. "Does that mean that after we solve this case, you'll cook me something?" I ventured. "Okay, here's the deal. Solve the case, and I'll cook your dinner," she challenged. Was I reading something into her remark? Could it be that she enjoyed my company as much as I did hers? "Let's get to work," I said eagerly. Daphna walked with her shoulders slumped from lack of sleep. We went into the vault. She put a refilled coffee cup on the desk and asked me, "Did you accomplish anything since I saw you last?" "I spoke with Rabbi Kamenovitz last night, and he told me that the proof that Rabbi Klein was murdered was right before my eyes." "And was it?" she asked. "Actually, it was," I said simply. She said, "With Rabbi Kamenovitz, you can take it to the bank." And then I explained the discovery that I had made with my necktie. Daphna nodded her head in approval. "Pretty sharp. What did the police have to say about that?" "Nothing yet. I wanted to run it past you before I showed it to Slatterly." "This is very important," said Daphna. "The cops have been humoring us. They are not really convinced that this was a murder, but once you show them what you discovered, they will have no choice but to reopen the entire investigation. Nice work." Those words of praise were especially nice coming from Daphna. I realized that I wanted her to appreciate me. No, I wanted her to like me. Maybe more. I'm in serious trouble here. I tried to change the subject. And what did you accomplish during your night without sleep? She leaned back in her chair and unfolded a sheet of paper. This is a picture of Alice Weinstein. It's 10 years old and was taken from the catalog of the sporting goods company she worked for. She was a salesperson. I still have no idea where she could be. The picture was a bit grainy, but was still a good headshot. Her hair would probably be grayer, or perhaps it was dyed. But either way, I could not identify her. It was not someone I had encountered during the investigation. That was a relief. I'll get the picture to Slattery and see what they can do about locating her. What about the car? She pointed at a map on the computer screen. That's where your car is. I was confused. My car was in little pieces being studied for bomb residues. My car is in the state police lab. No, not your car. The White Chevy. I have not discovered where the car went after the rabbi died, but I do know that on the following night, the car left the city and went into this 4-square-mile area of Shiawassee County. She said, pointing to the map showing on the screen. You sure it is there, I asked? All I know right now is that it went into that area and did not come out on that night. I'm going through all the cameras in that area to see when and if it came out. I'm about halfway through and it looks like it's still there. Where exactly, I wanted to know. Can't pin it down, she said in frustration. Could be in a garage, parked on the road, out in the open. Your guess is as good as mine. I can only say that it did not pass any of the cameras on the surrounding roads. Of course, if the killer took dirt roads or went off-road completely, that's a different story. But I'm 99% sure this is where it is. I'll inform the police, but we still don't know for sure that this guy had anything to do with the killing, I said. It does prove one thing, said Daphne. What? Rebbetzin Klein did not murder her husband, she said with confidence. How are you so sure? Because if the White Chevy is the vehicle that brought the killer to the Klein house, and if we assume that Alice Weinstein, whoever is the killer, was working alone, do you agree with me so far? Is Steph not looking at me? Yeah, I do. Then whoever drove it the next night is the murderer, because the Chevy left the city at 1 o'clock in the morning on the night after the rabbi's funeral in Detroit. Devorah got back to the house at 8 o'clock in the evening, and she did not leave the house again for 7 days of the Shiva, the official mourning period. She could have snuck out, I suggested. No, she couldn't, said Daphne. For the entire Shiva, one of the women in the community was with her at all times. Rebbetzin Lipsky slept with her that night. Sneaking out on the very night of her husband was buried would not go unnoticed. Also, there is no record in the alarm company files that anyone left or entered the house once the alarm was set. I was not going to ask her how she knew that the alarm company's record showed. That whole alarm business is what makes this case so strange. There must be a way to get into that house without triggering the alarm. Otherwise, how did the killer get in and out? You're absolutely right. Aliens could have dropped the murderer into the house from a flying saucer, suggested Daphne sarcastically. I get your point, I said. So we agreed that it is not the Rebbetzin. It just can't be her, said Daphne. Can't be her or you don't want it to be her. Both. Rebbetzin Klein was a strange woman, and strange always sent up a red flag on my suspect radar. Still, she had good alibis for the critical times in this case, and there was no clear evidence that showed that she was involved. I wanted Daphne's help in sorting out the facts. She could have been the one who erased the files on the computer. Could have been the rabbi or someone else, she said. Who else? I could have done it, said Daphne. Why would you do that, I asked. I did not say I did it, but I or maybe a few hundred other hackers in this state could have done it. So tell me again why it could not be her, I said. Daphne began ticking things off on her fingers. First, she was not at home. The tapes in the theater, her phone GPS confirmed this. Her phone GPS just means her phone did not leave the theater. She could have stashed it somewhere, I said. Daphne looked at me questioningly. Can I continue? I nodded in the affirmative. Second, if she left the theater to sneak back to the house, she would need some sort of transportation, since the tapes show that her car never left the lot. No cabs came to the theater or any of the nearby lots, and the white car was not parked anywhere near the theater before the murder. Third, if she came home, how did she get past the alarm? I interjected. Someone was able to get past the alarm. It could have been her. It could have been, but also could have been Alice Weinstein or my grandma Zisa. But she has an alibi better than Rebbetzin Klein. She's dead, said Daphna. Okay, I have just got to get it clear in my head that just because there must be a way around the alarm system, it does not mean that Devorah Klein was the one that killed her husband. I stated, okay, continue. Daphna took off where she left off. Fourth, she's not strong enough to choke her husband, and certainly could not hoist him up so as to hang him from the water pipe. And if he was killed elsewhere in the house, she did not have the strength to schlep him down to the basement. Fifth, assuming she got out of the house and got back to the white car, where did she leave it until it was driven out of the city the next day? It had to be near the theater, otherwise she would not have had enough time. So if the car was near the theater, where was it? That was over an entire day. None of the business in that area are open 24 hours. Like a 24-hour superstore, I said. Exactly, she said with a nod of her head. So that means their lots are empty at night and the white Chevy would stand out. She pointed at her screen. No Chevy on the tapes. So all we have so far is that the rabbi was murdered and it could not have been the Rebbetzin, I said. We're almost back to where we started, said Daphna. I'm still bothered by her threatening the Hillel House director, I said. We both know that the Rebbetzin is a little weird, but I think this goes over that line. If she didn't have that ironclad alibi, my gut feeling is that I should be honing in on her. The murderer could be Alice Weinstein, or it could be one of the other students that she counseled at the Hillel House. You know, a little flirting, more flirting, things go bad, they go a little crazy, offered Daphna. You read too many mystery novels. There are two reasons I don't like that choice, I said. First, no opportunity. How could they get into the home and cover up everything they did? This was obviously planned in advance. And if the white car is part of this, it had to be well in advance. It is too complex for a crazy student to plan and execute. Second, Frank D'Angelo's report. I know him. His investigations were always exhaustive and complete. If he says there was no inappropriate behavior in the Hillel House, then it is a 99% bet the rabbi did not have any extracurricular activities going on at the campus. It still could be Alice Weinstein or some nut job that we don't know. It could be the man in the moon and we'll never find him. But if you stick with the motive and opportunity, you usually get your man. As an afterthought, I added, or woman. Would you stop already? The Rebbetzin had no motive, said Daphna. It could not have been for money. There was no insurance and she has all the money in the family. They were a terrific couple right up to the end. There was no sign of difficulties between them. What does that prove? If she is the one who murdered the rabbi, then she is lying now. And that means that she was most likely has not been telling us the truth about them being a great couple. But why would Rabbi Klein behave like they were a great couple if they were not, asked Daphna. He behaved that way because what good would it do not to? It would only embarrass them both, so he played along. We still don't know why he was seeking psychiatric help. It could have been there had been a problem in their marriage because of him. But that doesn't make sense, since that would make me think more that it was suicide. Daphna said, regarding his psychiatric problems, I got through to Dr. Felix this morning, the doctor whose charges were wiped from the disk. I asked him to give me information regarding Rabbi Klein's visits. He refused, saying it fell under the doctor-patient confidentiality rule. I told him what you said, that since the rabbi was dead, the rule did not apply. He continued to insist that he could not give me any information, but would gladly comply if we got a court order. So what are we going to do, I asked. I'm going to wait for him to connect his external disk so I can see his files, she said. We could just ask the Rebbetzin directly. It would save us a great deal of time, I said. Oh, no, we can't, said Daphna. The visits to the doctor would be about something completely private that has nothing to do with this case. She would be mortified. When will you know for sure that the Chevy is still in your 4 square miles of Shiawassee County? This afternoon, she answered. When are you going to the police? As soon as I leave here, I've already told Slattery I was coming over. You know, the police are not going to like this. Yeah, I know, I admitted. Nobody likes it when you point out that they made a mistake, so I can imagine cops are no different. They're going to be very angry when you show them that this was definitely not a suicide. Up until now, they've been humoring me with the investigation, I said. None of them have been breaking out in a sweat in their efforts to look for a murderer or the car. So now they will have no choice. Mrs. Kennan screamed down from the top of the stairs, Daphna, Rebbetzin Klein is here. That's strange, said Daphna. What's strange? Devorah always calls and makes appointments before going to someone's house. She never just drops in. She's here now, I said, stating the obvious. Let's go say hello. End of chapter 1. Tomorrow we'll do chapter 2.